face.
Peace, y'all.
Knowledge bone. What's the science, baby?
What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Subscribe or die trying. What's happening, fam? L.A.R. still moving. Let me check on this volume real quick. We back. Um, as you see by the thumbnail, I had to have this conversation with us as a group of people, and bring to the forefront, why we're worth listening to. And a lot of times, we're in a space where people have an issue with it because of they don't like certain people or certain personalities, and they feel like certain ideologies are just counterproductive. But I'm gonna lay out some reasons why this space is worth listening to, why the Black Manosphere is worth listening to. Um, First and foremost, because we stay ahead of the curve. Over the years, you've seen a lot of content creators and a lot of brothers talk about our experience and our experiences in life, and how black men in particular are how can I put this? We're canaries in the coal mine. Like, things happen to us first. So when people assume that they're going through an issue, you know, no matter the race or gender, probably the first person to go through it is a black man in America, at least. This is what I'm talking about in America. So when it comes to dealing with the challenges of life, adversity, what I'm saying, it's us first. So when you hear brothers talking in this space, you pretty much know what's going to happen to you as you grow and get older and get into society. Even when people try to be a contrarian and say things like, I don't understand, this don't happen to me, and I'm different, it doesn't get past the fact that what happens to the group in general is what we're talking about. So the fact that we're at the forefront of how life is working, for us as a group of black men, and you can go further as a group of men, because a lot of these guys don't have the same issues. They don't. Some of these guys created issues. Some of these guys deal with issues, and some of these guys are just dealing with karma. But that being said, this is ground zero for what happens first. And what you see more times than not is people have a pushback on what we're saying. For the people who actually have a pushback, the people who have a pushback for what we're saying wind up at some point just agreeing with us, and not in a negative way. They kind of start agreeing with us, and they try to spin it and twist it into something else. But truth be told, it's like, no, this is what it is. So for me in particular to say this, you should give us a listen, because we're at the forefront of all of the things you might possibly go through. And that goes for the men and women, because what winds up happening is we tell the men what you're going to go through, and we tell the women how guys are going to respond to what's going on. So this is why, even using a lot of the guys as a reference, especially when you see more and more panels with men and women, this is why you hear the quote unquote talking points of this space over and over and over again, is because ladies are just getting accustomed to, like, what's really going on, and it's like, oh, okay, this is what these guys are talking about, and this is how it affects me. And even when they go, nah, I'm different, I'm special, doesn't they don't end up being different or special on the back end of it. They end up being the same old person who gets done in, because of certain aspects. So that's the first and foremost thing. Um, the second thing I would have to say is we're right. What's happening, fam? The second thing is we're right very, very often. Um, it's one thing to say, the guys are just talking and talking out the side of their neck or this, that, and the third. It's another when, the information that's presented, you start you start seeing it be right over and over and over and over and over again. You know, it's like guys are, if you were a betting man, you would bet on this space because you would win your money 85 to 95% of the time. You know, sub Afro shot. So that's a whole nother aspect of it. Like we're right, and people know we're right. And a lot of times you get this thing where people are fighting the fact that we're right, and which is to me, it's beyond hilarious. It's kind of like what are you really gonna do this? You know, hey man, it's all good, Jonathan. Appreciate you coming. Um, so because we're right on laws, because we're right on hiring practices, because we're right on education, because we're right on politics, because we're right on relationships, because we're right um, just on how society is moving and working and how it's working for and against people and how it can work for or against you, it changes the whole dynamic because it's an honest space. It's very honest. And that's the interesting part about it is because a lot of times I gotta be honest about saying a lot of the material is relationship driven and people want to watch things that are relationship driven. But the other things that have nothing to do with relationships and have more to do with society, those are the things that people don't gravitate to, but you wind up doubling back and gravitating to it because at the end of the day, you wind up finding out, man, these other things are affecting my life also. And these guys did talk about this. These guys did talk about the school system. These guys did talk about automation. These guys did talk about uh, real estate. And trucking is a big thing, or to get into the trucking industry. These guys did talk about STEM. These guys did talk about tech jobs, all these things that will help you further yourself in the future, trades and trade schools and this, that, and the third. So now you can't turn around and go, they're just, angry black men who have an issue with women. Fine, whatever. But when you see guys are right about what they're talking about, it adds more weight to it. So even when it comes to relationship aspect, you know, you you see these guys are right. You see it. You see it time and time and time again. Guys are becoming more and more professional, um, more and more specific, more and more detailed. You know, man, I don't even listen to haters, man. Don't even sweat it. I appreciate you, but it becomes one of those things where we're in, we're in, we're in the mix. You know, gravity. What's up? We're in a mix of everything. Now, I'm gonna take that a step further. Just saying because we're right about so much is one of the reasons why you should listen to the space. The other reason, if this space has more of an impact on other spaces than other spaces have an impact on this space. So what I mean is, as far as just the intellectual thought process, um, you have like big entities, like big people, you know, Tyreek Nasheed, you know, even, Jason Black, Professor Black Truth, but a lot of the big content creators, what's happening, Awaken? Um, their spaces, like, political spaces, and, whether it's left wing, right wing, whatever, we'll influence their space before they influence ours. And you see it because now when you see a lot of the content that you see now that has nothing to do with our space, you see how the relationship dynamic and the relationship breakdown and the breakdown of black men being seen more and having more of a voice and having more of a foothold on our own image is really derived from this space in particular. You see how people are starting to hear these brothers' side of the story. You see how people are starting to hear brothers out and not just go with a blanket. He's a black man, so he's the enemy. He must be lying. He must have did something wrong. Yada yada, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're starting to see people open up to the thought and the idea that, you know what, maybe, just maybe, this guy might have got done bad in this scenario. We're not just gonna say, hey, black dude and, non-black dude over here, whether it's a woman, whether it's another race, now it's believable. So because of those things, and like I was saying, you see on national TV that, now we got to speak from a man's point of view, because now right and wrong comes into play with technology, and I'm gonna bring technology into it a little bit later. But now you finding out how technology is such a big part of this, because even using technology in a sense, you can go back and you can see people's history. You can see how long people have been talking about things. You can see how long people have been making content. What's up, Tech? You see how long people are making content. You see how diverse the content might be when you take the time to research it. And then you start to see, hey, man, I remember such and such on this major network talking about this, or a show being about this, or now I've seen this on this guy's show or this lady's show, or now when I see this angle being presented, I see people going, oh, now I see people pushing back against, is this a real narrative or is this a narrative for TV? You know, and now you see this more and more and more and more and more. And you got this space so influential to other spaces that you can see the pump fake. It's opened up America's, yeah, it has awakened. You know, now you see these people pump faking their ideas, their ideologies, and you can see people trying to, in some ways, try to sell a different, a new ideology that's all, that we've already talked about. And the irony of it is, you got newer people coming into the space, whether they're younger, older, or even in the middle, and they're here right now when they're looking for answers, and they're getting answers on the spot, and they're seeing, okay, so if this guy was saying this, and he's been saying this for this many years, and then I click on the show and I click on the program, and now this guy's saying this. I wonder where he got it from. And it's like, is it coincidental that these two men are saying the same thing? Or were these men and women listening to these cats and then they went on their syndicated radio shows or television shows or relationship shows, whatever, political shows, and then they just started, using the talking points as a positive or a negative to be a protagonist or an antagonist. It's like, okay, this is what we doing. So to me, this space is far more influential to other spaces. What's up, GA? You know, this space is far more influential to other spaces. The spaces are to us because it's like we have more cutting edge, ahead of the curve, innovative, or open ideas. You know, and I say this, even with the white manosphere, a lot of their issues, you know, people don't realize this, that like the white manosphere and the MGTOW movement and all that, that started with Barbarossa. It's not, it didn't start with Barbarossa, but he was like at the forefront of that. And they had an issue with Barbarossa because they found out that he would be considered black in America. He's mixed. So then that became an issue. Man, thanks, fam. Thank you very much. You know, I don't want to hit this camera and knock things over, but that's what I'm trying not to do. Thank you very much, man. Thank you. So because of that, that kind of solidified black men have something to say. And he wasn't trying to, he was just a voice and not a face. And then when people found his face, then it became an issue. But once again, more influential than less. Now, the next thing I got to talk about is absolutely the technology aspect, because you should give this space a listen. Because what's up, Pan African? You should get this Bob Ross. you know, you should get this space a listen because technology has proven us right over and over and over and over and over again. Technology has proven us right as far as you can see things, you can see clips, you can see since everybody has a phone or camera phone, or even if you want to take it to the police brutality, that if you want to take it to black on black crime, that because information is this is the information age, and you hear the information about these stories come out very very fast. It's not something that you could just read in a newspaper, and when you read it in the paper, they don't give you the full context. You can see things for yourself, and you can see where somebody is trying to um, keep it fair and balanced, or they're trying to actually put sauce on a story to create a narrative. And so for this space, you see more and more and more and more stories. Like we don't, we really do not need to create new content. We really don't, because from all the old things that have been created in this space, you can basically just use society's daily. America's like world star hip hop. You can use America's daily uh, things caught on camera as as like, see, we told you this already. You see how this happens again. You see how this happened again. You see how this happens again. You see how people's response to this is nonchalant. And it's like, because it's a norm. These behaviors are a norm. You know what I'm saying? Wow. So now everybody else can see it. Because what used to happen is, whether it's people who were antagonists to the space or people who were just a little bit naive to life, they used to come around and say, "Look, man, that's not happening. That's not, y'all over exaggerating. That's not real." And then within a week, bam, story will drop. And they have to see it on camera. And they're like, "Oh, that's just one off." Bam, another story will drop. It's like, oh, okay, that's just two off. Bam, another story drop. It's like, okay, maybe y'all are right. So people, that's why you see people who kind of have an issue with this space, then they turn right around and they kind of agree with it, like, yeah, yeah, I can see what's going on now, you know. But let's just move on to the next subject, because technology has proven us right time and time and time again. Now, I think what's interesting about the technology aspect is you can see how far people are willing to go to unsee what they've seen, to try to rationalize irrational behavior. You see how far down a rabbit hole people are with, like, well, I just can't accept what life is the way y'all say it. And at a certain point, we don't have to even interact with these people. because it's like, hey man, look, you might not like what I'm saying, but you're not gonna stop these stories from coming out. They're gonna keep coming out, and you're gonna keep having to see them. And we're not even gonna have to put these in your face. You're gonna see them. They're gonna pop up in your neck of the woods, on your phone, in your local news, or your local videos, or your trending topics, or your Facebook group, or your, you know what I'm saying, or somebody in your family's life. It really doesn't matter. You're gonna see it from a friend of a friend or a family member of a family member. You're gonna see it. So technology has really, really um, proven our point time and time and time and time and time again. And now we're at that point where it doesn't matter what you say because you can't deny the proof. Thanks, fam. Thank you. You can't deny the proof. You know, so this is another reason why you should give this space a listening to. Why you should just pay attention to it. You know, yeah, I feel you on that. Um, Another reason that has to be brought up, concerned with the privacy. hmm I feel you on that too, John. Another thing we got to talk about is you probably should get this space to listen because, in all honesty, this space exposes shadow banning, and what I mean by that is, it's funny how people know so many people, but you got so many people known but unknown. Their subscriber count, and it's one thing when you say, we're just our own little bubble, right? We're just our own little bubble. It's a bunch of content creators. They're not making that much noise. They're this many people, not that many people are watching. Well, if that's the case, um, you have to question yourself like, well, how if it's a little space and it's impacting other spaces, and in your neck of the woods, the conversations are becoming commonplaces. In your neck of the woods, people know content creators by face and by name, even the small ones. They've heard them before. They're like, yeah, you know such and such. Yeah, I know who that is. So now you got to ask yourself, wait a minute. If I know who that is, and they know who that is, and they know who that is, the subscribers and the views don't necessarily add up. And then, when people talk about being shadow banned, or when you see people get their pages taken on things like TikTok, you see people's pages get taken in Facebook, and you see people in Facebook jail, and you see people get issued strikes and their channels taken down, on YouTube, and you wonder, like, and then you see people growing and growing exponentially, and you're trying to figure out, like, wait a minute, how are they at this level and they're at this level, but they're more influential than them? And you see people popping up and popping up and popping up, and you're trying to figure out, it's the algorithm. It's like, how come the algorithm works for everybody else but that group? You know, you know. So now it's like, So it's like, oh, okay, all right. And now when you see that, and when people are like, I think they are being like shadow banned because when you see other things happen, yeah, they took Nate got another channel though. I can't say the name off the top of my head, but he does have another channel. Go to Bernard Riley's channel when you get a chance, and type and ask in the chat about what's Nate's channel, and they're gonna give it to you when you're there. You know, and that's what happens. You don't get the notifications, this, that, and the third, and it doesn't dawn on you. These guys are extreme, or guys are negative, or this, that, and the third. But then you see people who are far more extreme and far more negative and say far more crazy things, and they just keep growing and keep growing and growing. Now the question is, okay, if you feel like if if people are tuning in, watching, growing, and gaining more and more traction from being this way, and you think they're a little bit off, and their subscribers keep growing, that means that population of off people exists at a high level. And especially when you go from like gender and race, right? Because what you wind up seeing is it makes you question, like, okay, if these people aren't making sense, but they're growing at an extreme rate, and these people are making sense and they're growing at a slow rate, are you trying to tell me society is basically not into not making sense? What you're telling me is society is built so you can be a little bit cuckoo, right? You know, and everybody can agree with things that normal people don't agree with because everybody's just a little crazy now. And common sense ain't that common to the point where, you know, you're like, man, why don't I hear this more? Why don't I hear that more? Well, all of a sudden that ain't in your algorithm. You feel me? You know, shout out to BGS. Thanks, fam. And now you start seeing this over and over and over and over again. You know, I'm listening. What's up? So now you got to the point where you got to get these brothers to listen because you know it's just like putting a parental advisory sticker on a rap album. Am I what's happening? How about them Cowboys that Shannon Sharp face? Skill. Oh, I love that. I love to hate on the Cowboys. I do, I do, I do, I do, I do. But now this space has become the parental advisory sticker on CDs. You know, back in the day. You know, now you're not supposed to listen to it, but you got to hear it because it's like, yeah, this is real. This is real. It's definitely real. This is what I like. This is an issue. You know, for this other, I don't like other genres of music as much anymore because they told me to stay away from this. But this is banging. So now you got that aspect going. No, we have that aspect going, and the problem is people are listening, and people can't really, what do you call it? They can't really debunk the talking points because we've already went down that road with other people, and it's found out that we're right. You know, and it's so right, it's ridiculous because of the yeah, it happens, Jonathan. You know, but now you have that whole aspect where this space is really like underground rap in the 90s and 2000s where you 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 know who's the next up because you can hear it. It was the mixtape circuit, like when DMX was on the mixtape circuit, like when the Locks was on the mixtape circuit, you know, like Mace was on the mixtape circuit. You know, of course, 50 Cent was on the mixtape circuit. It's become that where, you know, the underground is really overriding the mainstream, and the mainstream is just trying to hold on because it's about to get flooded. So, like I said, that's another reason why you should just get a space to listen. You know, 316, what's happening? You know, Michael, what's going on? So that's another thing that goes on. The other part is why you should give the Black Manosphere listeners because the content is excellent. Now you can if you like high energy, you got high energy. If you like relaxed, you got relaxed. If you like um, raw and unfiltered, you got that. If you liked very intellectual, you got that. You know, if you like social commentary, you got that. If you got relationship content commentary, you got that. Current events, you got that. Political, got that. The genre is so wide and vast that everything you need from a particular sector, you have it in this, and the guys are actually 100% excellent at doing it. You know, so that's where we going. And Tyrone, I actually spoke about that years ago. I actually got a video entitled um, "Do Black Lives Matter When It Comes to Abortion?" You know what I'm saying? So this is what I mean. Like sometimes people have no idea what people create. If you type in a subject that pertains to anything you're looking for, there's probably somebody in this space that spoke about it. You know, and I ain't talking about just yesterday. They could have spoke about it a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, almost 10 years ago. You know, but the content creators are excellent. Excellent. When I say excellent, I mean excellent. Because if we gotta keep your attention with antics, we do that. If we say I'm not doing the antics, you just gonna have to stay here and watch. We're gonna do that. You know. Yeah, yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot, fam. So that's a whole nother aspect. Hold on for a second. You know, thanks, Brandon. I appreciate you, fam. I thank you for the compliment. You know what I'm saying? Thanks for the compliment. So we got that going on. You know, Black Brain Trust is exactly. You get excellent content creators. And then because guys are excellent, what winds up happening is you wind up getting these offshoots where you got people, they specifically like specific people for them. Because it's like, I like how this person operates. Um, for me, I enjoy a bunch of different people. People in the space and people who are not in the space. So and that's a whole nother thing about being these content creators being excellent. They'll tell you who to watch and who to listen to in this space and not in this space. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to think about it. There's a reason why Mike Rashid had to dabble a little bit in this space because it was popping. It still is popping. There's a reason why you see, um, Tommy Sotomayor dabble in this space from time to time. Same thing with Jason Black. Why he references people, but he references particular Kevin Samuels. He has an issue with Kevin, I think, being as big as he is, but he does reference the space also. And the reason is they don't dislike. They can't say the content is trash or the talking points are trash or the people are trash. They just don't like the impact. So now, what's up, Alfonso? That's crazy. So, but they can't say, "Oh, these people suck." That's not what they're saying. They're like these people are pretty much formidable as far as making content. So that adds on to the space. Now, interestingly enough, you know, um, this space is also probably one of the most inclusive spaces as far as and I got to give much credit to BGS for that, um, because this space built a enclave for women who think the same. You know, some people do, Money Mitch. You know, so this space built the enclave. Um, BGS had the ladies' night on Friday night, and he had the Coliseum on Saturday, and that kind of was like the floor level for guys can interact. O'Shea with the Sunday Rumble. It was wild, it was crazy, but everybody was invited. From all walks of life. You know, um, TPOT with his debates, all walks of life. You know, yeah, you right about that, Fawcett. Like all walks of life. People come in, they can have their debates, and then you start seeing more and more people comfortable in this space, and whether you like them or dislike them, that's how that's kind of how you see the Danica Marie's, the Pink Book Lessons, the Six Goddesses, the Shares. You see how Crimson Cure, how Kendra's growing, and salute to her for that. Breakdown of a woman's perspective. You actually, so you see women who can be in a space and sometimes challenge the ideology of the men in the space, but we're not like booting them out of the space. What's up, Art? You know, we're not like get on out of here. No. So this is like one of like an inclusive area because if I'm not mistaken, you know, I know the white manosphere. I forget the honey badger ladies. I know they're part of that, but I don't know to what extent because I don't watch those guys like that. But 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 I do know that they exist because I think the ladies they are like off to themselves in a sense, and they walk around and they not walk around, but they go around and they speak their points against feminism and this, that, and the third. But I don't think they're fully. I don't think the guys bring them in the fold like that. In this space is more inclusive because just like you can hear men speaking, you can hear women speaking. You know, there's some. Oh shoot, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go to um the fellas event here in Houston in a few weeks. Ram, I think cousin Tito, of course, C Boogie for sure. Frank, you know what I'm saying? Um, and that's another thing that we got to talk to. She was popping, you know. That's another thing that goes on. That why this space deserves to listen to because in the beginning, even with the other we call 1.0 of the Black Manosphere, those OGs of it, they even brought to the table about black men building and not building. And you got to give credit where credit is due to the 2.0 group, where 2.0 built a network. It built something that as a foundation that people could stand on that foundation and grow higher and build upon. So, this idea that black men don't support each other and black men don't build, you know, and that you got to give a big tip your hat off to O'Shea for that too, because the way he was going live and the way he was busting his butt and working and giving brothers content and hooking up with other brothers and bringing people together, brothers started supporting that just like the Negro Manosphere site. Brothers were supporting that. And brothers would come on to the live chats and live streams, this, that, and the third. And then you see this spread out when it was a commission with him, Obsidian, Angry Man for as long as that lasted. You see the brothers actually come together and support other brothers. You see how brothers support Angry Man. You see how brothers support Obsidian. Got the book out. That's dope. You know what I'm saying? So now it eats away at that narrative that brothers aren't supporting each other, that brothers aren't down for each other. Even when those brothers have issues and quarrels, the foundation is already laid and brothers support them. Even if you on this side of I'm team O'Shea or I'm team Angry Man, or, I'm team Obsidian, so I don't support this, that, and the third. Is different. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Trey? So what you wind up seeing is you seeing brothers like, even the ladies like, they have even the people who don't necessarily like the space to speak against it, they've come to the realization that they're even setting up their model for networking in this way off of how brothers have done it. Because this space, in a sense, is a digital or virtual or social media sense of getting it out the mud. So now This is why you should give it a listen, because guys were doing this when it wasn't when this wasn't monetized. I was making videos when these things weren't monetized. You know, we don't have a silent generation. Uh, we got a culture. You know, Ghost, what's happening? So now you got that aspect out the way. So you got to get a cast of listen, because at the end of the day, guys did something that you're gonna just keep seeing grow and grow and grow. It's gonna grow in different directions. It's kind of like a hydra. You know what I'm saying? If you try to chop one head off, it's so this is why this is this way. And the irony of it is, you have people going, it's built on hating black women, right? And let me just take that argument for a second. Would this be an issue of competition because of the industry that was already built on hating black men? Now black men have an industry hating black women. Now it's a problem. Like, it wasn't a problem one way, but now it's a problem now. That's what it comes off as. But beyond that aspect, it's also one of those things where this, you give this space to listen because society gave us this space by not including us in society. It's a built-in niche, and I'm gonna tell you why I say that. Most black Americans and black men understand this, and black people understand this. When you go on television, when you get talking about talking and conversation about real social issues, who you won't see is a heterosexual black man on those panels. That's who you won't see. So to have a space full of heterosexual black men speaking their opinion, and the world knowing, appreciate it out of, the world knowing that, you know, these type of guys haven't been on your show. You haven't had these type of guys on your panel. You haven't had these type of guys in the discussion. You haven't invited any of these type of guys in general to put down their point of view at all. As a matter of fact, you just bring people to speak for them when they're not in the room. When you can actually get somebody to speak for the group. So, and it's very interesting that our approach and opinions, where they're different, split from the community because we have to deal with things differently. Thus, the historical point of it. And what I mean by the historical point of it, when we talk about, like I said, like for me, BGS is a resident OG of the scholars. That's just my opinion. Um, all the information he's brought forward, and then the PhDs come along. Gotta salute all them brothers. Gotta salute Tia San Johnson. Gotta salute Green Gorilla, Ronald Neal. You got just gotta do it. And you gotta put David Carroll, rest in peace, as one of the scholars also. Um, but when the fact of the matter was laid out that black men were here for like 100, close to 150 years by themselves, by ourselves, and then the ladies came about with 80 years. So black men and black women were in slavery together like 80 years before it ended. But initially, black men were almost here a decade and a half alone. So our American experience even differs from theirs. And even the sisters had a a wake up call when coming to grips with their facts. The ones that's in this space, it's like, man, like, so y'all issues with America go farther back than ours. Like, yeah, guess who was happening? So now we're at that point where you're hearing a difference, and nobody in America can actually say that's not true. So now everybody wants to, we kind of debunk the intersectionality argument, and you can even see that Well, I say this space has an impact on other spaces, but the other spaces don't have an impact on us. You see that more and more online when you hear people going, um, we're not, there's no black and brown, there's no people of color, we just talking black. Because we know, because being with everybody else, that don't work for us. You know, even sometimes when it comes to Pan Africanism, we had that talk too. And then you're starting to go, oh, wow, they're separating themselves and they're supposed to be more inclusive. And it's like, if everybody else ain't inclusive, we ain't inclusive. We're going to all be this. So you ain't going to latch on to my experience, and I'm not going to latch on to yours. The difference is you don't really have much of an experience to be talking all the stuff that you're talking. So when it comes to our perspective being told, nobody can tell it like us, and nobody can tell it for us because they don't have that experience. So this is why you should get a space, a good listen, because you know this ain't this ain't your experience, but it will be. All the fears, you know what I'm saying? Got you. You know, you've hold up. I feel like the problem is the people that are needed to listen to. Yeah, I feel you. Listen to, but people gonna listen to who they want to listen to. They got freedom of choice. And that's what it is. But we're all in the same ballpark. So as long as you listen to one of us, in some ways you listen to all of us. It just depends on what your cup of tea is. So, but as far as our voice, it changed the whole dynamic. It changed the whole dynamic. Even even the gay community has an issue with this content because it's like you can't hide your race and your gender and your sexuality under an umbrella. We won't let you do it. We just like you got to be in your own little category. Whatever happened to y'all happened to y'all. When it comes to racially, whatever happened to y'all happened to y'all. When it comes to gender, whatever happened to y'all happened to y'all. But as far as this group right here, we gonna cover what our grievances are, what our demands are, what our expectations are, and that's what it is. And that's how it's been going, and it really ticks off some people, but that's a problem for them, not us. Now, another thing that has to be talked about, why you should give this space a good listen, is because, like I said earlier, we write about so many things. We already predicted the society will start changing, and we're at the forefront of society changing. Whether we're going to talk about the rules of society, the engagements, how the narrative of society is changing because of technology, or even when I brought up cryptocurrency, how that's going to change the dynamic of our financial situation. And I see right now Kevin Samuels just started live on Instagram, so shout out to him. Um, so now you got that whole dynamic where you got brothers who are basically like, listen, we warned y'all that society was going to change. We warned y'all the court system wasn't going to keep working the same way it's working. We warned y'all the government wasn't going to be able to maintain the way it's been working as government. We warned y'all that the financial system wasn't going to keep working the way it is. So now what? We knew what to prepare for before it happened. So we kind of your preppers for life in that sense. And a lot of people go, you know, I can always do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, no, the rules that you once played by, the rules that once were in your favor and advantageous to you, they're not in your favor like that anymore. They're not as advantageous as they were before. So now you're gonna have to deal with life like we deal with it. So we introducing the world to everybody. All y'all not black men, but y'all gonna be treated in the same ballpark as black men, and there's gonna be a culture shock for a vast majority of y'all. See, we are your buffer class, to a new reality. And though you don't want to deal with it, you're gonna have to, because we just warning you about what's changing. You're gonna live it on your own. Remember? Yeah, absolutely. Guess this whole thing has changed. So if you don't get a space to listen, that's your fault. That's not our fault. You know what I'm saying? But you're gonna have to come back. You're gonna have to come back. It's like, when we talked about how society was gonna change for paternity fraud, how people was going to stop viewing domestic violence. Like when we talked about the Me Too movement and why it started off strong and how it was going to flip on black men because too many white men were getting in trouble, to how now people have turned on that because too many people got caught lying. All of that changes society's dynamic because it was all on camera. It's kind of like the civil rights movement. See, it wasn't just the civil rights movement happening. It was the invention of is the invention of the camera and it being broadcast to the globe that this is how America gets down. You know, they may not be ready for a new normal out of hands, but guess they're gonna have to deal with it anyways. That's the interesting part. They're gonna have to deal anyways. So now you got this whole aspect in there where you gonna have the world dealing with this world, and this camera has shown people, like I brought up earlier. This camera has shown people this is what it is. This is what it's gonna be. This is how it's gonna be from now on. Now you got a bigger problem. And your bigger problem is, like I said, culture shock. Like we're basically debriefing you, you know, before you have a culture shock and while you're going through it. Because it's coming no matter what. You're gonna have it no matter what. It's not gonna be out of the you're not out of the woods, you in the jungle at this point. And though you may want out, too late to get out. Now, the other thing is, you might want to get a space and listen because you might want answers. See, a lot of times you have a lot of filibustering or pontificating and people just trying to, give you fluff. But if you want answers and you want straightforward answers, even and a lot of times these answers you don't like and don't want to deal with, you know. NYC, thanks, fam. You know, we giving you answers. You know what I'm saying? And answers you might understand, you might not understand, you might like, you might dislike, but you're getting answers nonetheless. You know, you know, eh, appreciate that. I'm glad you see that. I'm glad you see that. So now that now that now that people are not giving you the hope and change spiel, they giving you like this is what it is spiel, not I hope it gets better. This is in an ideal world, in an ideal situation. If we treat the world this way, this could possibly happen. We're like, no, this is what it is. This was what it is before, and at this rate, this is what it's gonna be. I'm not even gonna play this game with you that somebody's gonna magically come down from heaven and give you a new reality. This ain't an X-Men book, and we're not Franklin Richards. You know what I'm saying? That's what that is. So a lot of this stuff comes from that. And when people ask questions, we give answers and we give them fast. And then people get mad because nobody told me that. And that's why people keep coming back and keep coming back because you're getting the answers nobody ever told you. And even when you don't like it, it's like, but that makes sense though. But that goes against what I've been hearing. But what I've been hearing doesn't work. Like my answer to it doesn't work, but their answer to it does. So maybe they're right. So now it's like, okay, I need to rock with that. Now another thing that and I got to give a shout out to Nicole Michelle, because I remember when she was on a panel years ago, and then she started her femininity course. But she had a femininity course then, but she had to tweak it. She came on panels like trying to figure out what was going on because what she thought in her mind that would work with men didn't work, and we were telling her no, that's not gonna work, and we're gonna tell you why. And she was so open to listen that she tweaked some things about her femininity code course, and in that it made women more successful and advantageous to get the relationships that they actually wanted. But it also exposed a lot of people faking, a lot of women faking about how they trying to get on or whatever, you know. So interestingly enough, um, what you wind up seeing is you even see women go, "Oh, I got to deal with." Like you started seeing more and more women having to come out and go, "Wait, these guys are right because of they see the delusion, they see the entitlement, they see how it affects one generation to the next, they see how it might put, you know, even their gender in a bad spot as far as the strong and independent thing when you stuck living that life." And they see how the men are becoming older, wiser, and really happier. And the guys are figuring out, look, man, I ain't got to deal with all this. And now it's like, oh, because I once said a long time ago, ladies didn't want to compete, you know, and but we also said some of the fellas don't want to compete also, you know. So what the space did was it put competition on the table. It put competition on the table as far as, you know, racially, and as far as gender. What's up, Astronite? It put competition flat on the table. And now, you know, it screams in the face. And this is why sometimes you don't see a lot of content creators. I ain't gonna say a lot. You see content creators in the Black Manosphere's face, and then you don't see some's face. And I know the underlying message is, what are they a person who actually competes? If I don't see your face, are you a person who actually competes, or you a person who's just talking online? So, and you got to give C Boogie a shout out to him talking about show your work, because that was the premise of that. He got tired of people talking, and they were just an avatar. He's like, well, show me if you got it like that, show your work. He wasn't saying show me your bank account, or he wasn't saying show me, you know what I'm saying, um, show me into your whole life. You just show me if you actually doing what you saying. Show, you know, follow. Is this your actual lifestyle, or you saying something on camera? You know. Thanks, Astronite, man. So now this space, you got to get a space to listen, because it makes you have to compete. And it puts you on a competitive mindset and to know what's going on with the globe. And and part of that is where I'm gonna end with this. We actually put the statistics and the facts on the table. This is why you got to get this space a listen, because we actually put the reality on the table. We actually, this is the space we brought to you. You know, what is the median income? What's up, Will? What is the median income? What is, who's how many people are in the middle class? What is average in America? What is above average in America? You know, where do you stand as a human being if you're in this bracket or this bracket or this bracket or this bracket? Now it wasn't all fantasy anymore. It wasn't all, I just feel like I'm better than somebody because I said so, because I feel like it in my heart. No, I was like, no, these are the groups that exist, and which one you fall in. The statistics don't lie. The stats don't lie. Stats can be manipulated and skewed, but you get what I'm saying. But facts don't lie. You know, the raw numbers don't lie. When people was bringing up the interracial dating thing, like, look, we had been saying for years, the fact of the matter is there are more black men married than black women. Black men marry women from 85 to 88% of the time. Um, you know, as far as interracial dating, sisters marry out with white guys 1% of the time. So it's like, look, we just talking straight up numbers here. Forget all the BS. You know, everybody, why everybody needs a guy making $100,000, and Kevin keeps bringing up how many of those guys exist. And now you see that, you know, people are making these stories. Oh, I see people like this all the time. No, you don't. Or if you see people like that all the time, you don't know them. You see them. You know, it's like seeing a baller in a club. You know that baller making money, but you don't know them. You just seen them. You know, but being with them and being in that space, and that's a whole different story. So what you come to find out along the way is this space actually gave you the information that you needed. You know what I'm saying? Cousin. I feel you on that. But that's where that lies. So to me, you know, it's very much so a lot of good reasons to be in this space. And I went for an hour. I'm gonna shut this thing down for y'all, and I want y'all to have a great evening. So like, share, subscribe, or die trying. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.